जहाँकर जन्म स्वाधीनता जहाँकर जन्म स्वाधीनता परवर्ती भारत रे होइतिला आउ आज को 75 वर्ष तले बोध हुए तांकर प्रत्येक कार्य प्रखर राष्ट्रवाद आउ देश प्रेम रो झलक सबु क्षेत्र रे देखिया पाई मिले। राष्ट्रहित सर्वोपरि तांक पाई एक स्लोगान नुहे, यह तांकर जीवन पद्धति। यह मोर तथा आम समस्तंकर भाग्य जे एपरि जने जुग पुरुषंकर अधिनायकत्व रे कार्य करिबा को आज आम मानंकु सौभाग्य प्राप्त होइछि। तांकर दूरदृष्टि दिग्दर्शन नेतृत्व कार्यशैली सबुठारु भिन्न एवं अनन्य। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जींकर जीवन सबु समय रे सेवा और समर्पण पाई विश्व विदित। तांक अदम्य प्रयास रे भारत आज विश्व रे एक शक्तिशाली आत्मनिर्भर एवं परिवेश सचेतन देश रूप में आज सारा विश्व रे गौरवान्वित। देशर मर्यादा को विश्व भू राजनीतिक परिवेश रे प्रतिष्ठित करैबारे तांकर भूमिका मध्य अतुलनीय। तांकर विजन हार्वर्ड विश्वविद्यालय एयर कंडीशन श्रेणीगृह लेक्चर द्वारा सूचित नुहे। तांकर विजन एवं तांकर ये दूरदृष्टि हार्ड वर्क एवं निजस्व अभिज्ञता उपरे पर्यवेसित। तृणमूल स्तर में जड़ी साधारण लोकंक समस्या एवं यह अति निकटर से देखिछंती। 2001 मसीह गुजरात मुख्यमंत्री भावे प्रथम थर दायित्व संभाड़ा पूर्वर प्राय 3 दशंधि धरी भारतर गलिकंदी ग्राम सहर एक साधारण कार्यकर्ता भावे बुली लोकंकर दुख सुख रे साथी होई समस्तंकर अभाव असुविधा विभिन्न समस्या विषय रे अवगत हेउतबा सेई नेता होउचंती आम मोदी जी। तांकर मुख्यमंत्रित्व कथा कहंतु किंबा वर्तमान रे प्रधानमंत्रित्व काल कथा कहंतु, प्रत्येक निष्पत्ति रे लोकंकर एही समस्या दूर करिबारे लक्ष्य प्रतिफलित सबु बड़े ही थाए। धन जन योजना हेउ, धन जन योजना हो कि आयुष्मान भारत योजना किंबा मातृवंदना योजना हो कि प्रधानमंत्री किसान सम्मान निधि योजना हो, प्रत्येक विकासमूलक कार्य तांकर समस्या तार समाधान विषय रे प्रतिफलित होता है। माननीय मोदी जी विभिन्न योजना और कार्यक्रम महिला सशक्तिकरण एक स्वतंत्र स्थान अच्छी। आउ एथिपाई मोदी जी माता और तांकर संघर्षमय जीवन एक बड़ भूमिका मध्य अच्छी। आमे समस्त जानिछु माननीय प्रधानमंत्री तांकर स्वर्गीय माताजी निबिड़ संपर्क विषय रे विभिन्न सार्वजनिक मंचरु से ये विषय रे अनेक समय उल्लेख करिसंती। सेतिरो गोटे होउछि किपरि तांका माँ परिवार पाई खाद्य प्रस्तुत कला बेले चोली निया जगु तांको आखिरु धार धार लुह भरी जाउथिला झरी जाउथिला। यह केवल तांका माँ का पाई नुहे, सारा देशर अधिकांश ग्रामांचल रहुतबा माँ मानक पाई प्रजुज्य। तेणु देशर कोटि कोटि माँ को धुआंरु मुक्त परिवेश प्रदान करने पाई से आरंभ करथिले उज्ज्वला योजना। आज यही योजना फल देशर समस्त परिवार आज एलपीजी गैस आज उपलब्ध प्राप्त हेबारे सुनिश्चित हो पारिछंती। सही बड़ी मां को सम्मान पाई प्रधानमंत्री हेबार मात्र 2.5 मास मध्य दिल्ली लाल किलार प्राचीर आरंभ करते स्वच्छ भारत अभियान कार्यक्रम। मोदीजी निज अभिज्ञतार भल भाव जानी जे खोलारे शौच करने समस्त विशेष भावे महिला मानकर पाई केवल विपदपूर्ण केवल नुहे, यह स्वास्थ्यकर। यह द्वारा सम्मान हानि होउथिला। तेणु मिशन मोड रे स्वच्छ भारत अभियान कार्यक्रम आरंभ है। धार्य समय बहु पूर्वर आम देश में 96% महिला मानकर एवं परिवार को शौचालय पहुंची पारिला। आउ यह द्वारा महिला माने सुरक्षित मणिबा सहित समानंकर सम्मान मध्य सुरक्षित रही पारिछि। ओडिशार विकास पाई मोदीजी स्वतंत्र दृष्टि रही। गत वर्ष अर्थात सेप्टेम्बर मास 17 तारीख आज दिन में आज भी सेप्टेम्बर मास 17 तारीख 2025 मसीहार गत वर्ष सेप्टेम्बर मास 17 तारीख 2024 मसीह आज दिन में माननीय मोदीजी ओडिशा आसी आमर माँ मानकर पाई सुभद्रा योजनार शुभारंभ करथिले। शुभारंभ करने पूर्वर तांकर जन्मदिन को पालन करथिले आमर ओडिशा रे आम भुवनेश्वर रे आम भुवनेश्वर गाढ़कण रे एक आदिवासी परिवार रो एक आदिवासी माँ पाखरे उपस्थित रही माँ का पाखरु खीरी खाई तांकर जन्मदिन को पालन करथिले आज दिन में गत वर्ष यही भुवनेश्वर रे एवं आमे समस्ते उपस्थित थिलु। केड़े सौभाग्य आम मानकर प्रधानमंत्री जन्मदिन में ओडिशा रे हेबो अब आमे समस्ते उपस्थित रहिबा। या निश्चित भाव में से दिन आरंभ होता से सुभद्रा योजना से सुभद्रा योजनार परवर्ती काल में ओडिशा रे कोटिए मांकर सुभद्रा योजना अंतर्भुक्त हवा पंजीकृत हवा आउ आज यह आर्थिक सशक्तिकरण क्षेत्र में एक प्रमुख अस्त्र भाव आज उभा है। आज आउ मध्य गोटे कथा मु कहवाई चाहे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री माँ मानकर उत्तम स्वास्थ्य पाई मध्य एक वैप्लविक अभियान आरंभ करने जाउछंती। सुस्थ नारी सशक्त परिवार आम स्वास्थ्य मंत्री मध्य एटी उपस्थित अछंती डॉक्टर मुकेश महालिंग महाशय। तांकर अभियान होउची सुस्थ नारी सशक्त परिवार। प्रधानमंत्री जन्म दिवस जन्मदात्री माँ और धरित्री मातार सुरक्षा पाई आज बनी जाइछि आम समस्तंकर पाई एक संकल्पर दिन। आम समस्त जानिछु माननीय मोदीजी एवं तांकर स्वर्गीय पूज्य माताजी अनाबिल और ममतामय संपर्क विषय रे तेणु तांकर स्मृति को उज्जीवित रखिबा पाई गत वर्ष प्रधानमंत्री विश्व परिवेश दिवस अवसर रे जून 5 तारीख 2024 तारीख दिन दिल्ली बुद्ध पार्क ठारे निज मां का नाम रे चाराटीए रोपण करी एक पेड़ माँ के नाम एक पेड़ माँ के नाम माँ पाई गछटीए ये कार्यक्रम रो शुभारंभ करथिले गत 2024 मसीहा जून मास 5 तारीख रे। आ यही अभियान एक आंदोलन रे परिवर्तित होइथिला एवं मात्र 4 मास मध्य गत वर्ष 80 कोटी चारा रोपण जो लक्ष्य रखा जाइथिबा कार्यक्रम को सफलतार सहित ताहा पूरण करि पारिथिला।
एवं आमे ओडिशा रे आम सरकार को टार्गेट दिया जाइथिला ओडिशा रे 6.5 कोटी चारा रोपण करिबा पाई। सौभाग्यर कथा सरकारंकर ये कार्यक्रम रे ओडिशार सबु जनसाधारण सामिल हवा छात्र छात्री माने सामिल हवा बुद्धिजीवी माने सामिल हवा एनजीओ माने सामिल हवा पंचायत माने सामिल हवा म्युनिसिपालिटी सामिल हवा कारण आमे भारत वर्षर 4th स्थान अधिकार करथिले एवं 6 कोटी 72 लाख वृक्षारोपण करि पारिथिले। या होउची 4th पोजीशन गत वर्ष आमे करि पारिथिले। ए वर्ष एही अभियान रो द्वितीय संस्करण रे 7.5 कोटी गछ लगाइबा पाई निष्पत्ति निया जाइछि। राज्य सरकार निष्पत्ति नै छंती आम जंगल एवं परिवेश विभाग तरफ निष्पत्ति निया जाइछि। आमर मान्यवर जंगल परिवेश विभाग मंत्री श्रीयुक्त गणेश राम सिंह खुंटिया महोदय एठी उपस्थित अछंती। तांकर घर मध्य सही सिमलीपार जंगल भितरे जोटी हाथी बाघ भालू रहंती तांको सहित आम मंत्री भी सही घर आ सही भी से वर्ष 2-3 दिन जाकि रहंती तांको सहित। ये राम खुशीर कथा एवं जो टार्गेट दिया जाए 7.5 कोटी वृक्षारोपण करने गछ ता भीतर वर्तमान सुधा 5 कोटी वृक्षारोपण हो सारा। ये आम बहुत बड़ा गोटे सौभाग्यर कथा। आउ से तांकर 75तम जन्म दिवस रे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी साधारण जनता सहित भागीदारी रे आज पवित्र दिन रे माननीय यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी जन्मदिन अवसर रे 75 लक्ष 75तम जन्म दिवस रे चारा रोपण करिवार जो आमे संकल्प नहीं काम आरंभ करिसंती ये होची आम समस्तंकर सारा ओडिशावासींकर सरकारंकर माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी प्रति सर्वोत्तम उपहार। मु कहवाई चाहूँगी ये प्रारंभिक विचार आलोचना पर जितेबले कार्यक्रम को 2024 मसीहा जून मासरे 5 तारिख आरंभ होता आ ये चलित वर्ष द्वितीय संस्करण रे गत वर्ष सफल है कार्यक्रम को ए वर्ष त्वरित पर्यायर जेभली भाव रे आम विभाग मान तरफ सरकार के तरफ पदक्षेप निया जाइछि एवं यही कार्यक्रम को आम समस्ते मिशन बोर्ड रे नहीं कारण आज एक विराट आह्वान रूप से छिड़ा होइछि कार्यक्रम एवं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को तांको जन्मदिन आम बहुत बड़ कार्यक्रम आज आम हाथ को नहीं पारि आज सकाल 5टारू आरंभ होइछि एवं संध्या 5टा पर्यंत यह चलिबो। मेरी लाइफ पोर्टाल रे समस्त फोटो अपलोड हेबो। एइति मध्ये आपण माने जो माने वृक्षारोपण करले प्लांटेशन करले आपण माने मध्य मेरी लाइफ पोर्टाल रे निजरा फोटो आपण माने उठेइबे एवं सेल्फी नेबे एवं ताको अपलोड करी करी आपण माने मेरी लाइफ पोर्टाल रे पठेई पारिबे। आपण मानकर आम समस्तंकर प्राय 1.5 मासर अक्लांत परिश्रम को मु आपण मान को समस्त को अभिनंदन जनाउछि एवं धन्यवाद मध्य जनाउछि। मुख्य शासन सचिव जंगल विभाग अतिरिक्त मुख्य सचिव एथिपाई बहु बार समीक्षा करथिले आज ये कार्यक्रम को सफल रूपायन करिबा पई सेथिपाई विभिन्न विभाग को दायित्व मध्य अर्पण करा जाइथिला। जंगल विभाग को 15 लाख, पंचायत राज विभाग 34 लाख, कृषि विभाग 23 लाख, शिल्प विभाग 15 लाख और केंद्रीय पारामिलिटारी फोर्स को 2,20,000 एठी आम ओडिशा रे थिबा बैंक गुडी को 2 लाख एमिति भाव रे चारा रोपण करिबा पाए लक्ष्य धार्य रखा जाइछि एवं वर्तमान वृक्षारोपण कार्यक्रम चालू रही। 40,000 उच्च माध्यमिक विद्यालय 15 लाख छात्र छात्री 1,000 कॉलेजर 1 लाख छात्र छात्री अति उत्साह सह ये कार्यक्रम रे शामिल होती एवं आज मोर प्रथम सौभाग्य है ये एकाम्र कॉलेज परिसर रे एकाम्र कॉलेज छात्र छात्री अध्यापक अध्यापिका एवं एटिकार समस्त उपस्थिति रे भुवनेश्वर वासी उपस्थिति रे आज वृक्षारोपण करिवार परम सौभाग्य प्राप्त है। मुझे कॉलेज कर्तृपक्ष प्रिंसिपाल महोदय सहित समस्त को मु धन्यवाद अर्पण करुछि। यही प्रयास को सफल करने संपूर्ण भाव में आज सारा ओडिशा प्रदेश रे 2 लाख शिक्षक शिक्षयित्री 1 लाख कॉलेज स्वेच्छासेवी 76,000 अंगनवाड़ी कर्मी 17,500 सुरक्षा समिति वन सुरक्षा समितिर सभ्य माने एवं परिवेश उन्नयन कमिटी सदस्य सभ्य 17,000 आशाकर्मी 16,500 माई भारत स्वेच्छासेवी और 10,000 इको क्लब अंटा भिड़ी बाहरी छंती और निरंतर भाव ये कार्यक्रम को आरंभ करी चली आसंता संध्या आज संध्या पर्यंत ये कार्यक्रम जारी रहिबो। जी 10 मास गर्भरे धरी संतान को जन्म दे थाए एवं जार स्नेह ममता और त्याग जगु शिशुटीए छोटरू बड़ होता है आउ सी होउछंती माँ आउ जार खाद्य पानी पवन गंध स्पर्श पाई पिलाटी छोटरू बड़ हुए बड़ होता है से होउछंती गोटिए माँ धरित्री माँ। आज दिनटी उभय माँ और धरित्री माँ पाई समर्पित। मोर सारा राज्यवासी को एवं कोठ एठारे उपस्थित थिबा समस्त भाई भौणी छात्र छात्री और युववर्ग को अनुरोध आपण माने गछ लगांतु एवं गछ सहित सेल्फी नियंतु एठी जो माने छात्र छात्री अछंती माँ भणी माने अछंती विशेष कर छात्र छात्री माने आपण माने समस्त गछ लगैले हाथ टेकिबे गछ लगैले सेल्फी उठेले कि नहीं ताकू मेरी लाइफ पोर्टल रे अपलोड करले कि नहीं सतरे भारत माता की वंदे वंदे बहुत बहुत आपण मान को धन्यवाद ये उत्साह ये उद्दीपना आम समस्त लगी रहू एवं आपण माने समस्ते आज अपलोड करिसंती एवं ये कार्यक्रम को आपण माने सफल करैबारे बड़ भूमिका नहीं छंती आज सही माँ पाई आ धरित्री मातार सुरक्षा पाई आज आमे समस्त उद्यम करूछंती ये पवित्र प्रयास सारा सोशल मीडिया रो प्लेटफॉर्म रे एक ट्रेंड हवा आवश्यक आज दिनटी केवल गछ लगेबा नुहे यह होची परिवेश सुरक्षा प्रकृति प्रति आमर ऋण परिशोध एवं आगामी पृथ्वी पाई एक सुस्थ सुंदर जीवन को सुनिश्चित करिबा पाई एक प्रकृति एवं एक प्रकोष्ठ दिन एक उपयुक्त दिन यह केवल गछ लगेबार विशाल अभियान नुहे यह आमर माटी जल वातावरण आगामी पीढ़ी सुरक्षा पाई मध्य एक निष्ठापर उद्यम एवं निष्ठापर पदक्षेप स्नेह श्रद्धा और सम्मान सहित परिवेश सुरक्षा सेवारे आज आम समस्ते सामिल हो पारी मुझे आपण मान को स्मरण कर चाहूँ गछ केवल पत्र शाखा और फलर समष्टि नुहे गछ हेउची ऑक्सीजन रो अभिन्न स्रोत परिवेश अविच्छेद्य अंग पक्षी पशु आश्रय एवं आम पृथ्वीर प्राण आज 75 लाख चारारोपण प्रधानमंत्री 75तम जन्म वार्षिकी सहित ये संपृक्त अटे यार संदेश स्पष्ट जीवन और प्रकृतिर मूल्य को सर्वोपरि रखिबा जीवन और प्रकृतिर मूल्य को सर्वोपरि रखिबा यही अभियान रे समग्र ओडिशावासी विशेष करी छात्र छात्री और युववर्गर भूमिका असाधारण स्कूल कॉलेज स्वेच्छासेवी संगठन प्रशासन समस्त सम्मिलित प्रचेषा द्वारा आम यही 75 लाख गछ को केवल लगे बारे नुहे बरं सेगुड़ी को पोषण करी तार सुरक्षा दे सबुज ओडिशा सुस्थ ओडिशा सृष्टि करिबा सौभाग्यर कथा जे वर्तमान सुधा जेतिकी आज एक पेड़ माँ के नाम माँ पाई गछटिए मोदीजी 75तम जन्म जयंती अवसर रे 75 लाख वृक्षारोपण ये कार्यक्रम रे जहाँ वर्तमान सुधा मो पाख को रिपोर्ट आसी वर्तमान सुधा प्लांटेशन हेइछि पाखापाखि 50 लाख प्लांटेशन वृक्षारोपण ये कार्यक्रम हेई सारिलाणी एवं ता भितरे अपलोड हेइछि मेरी लाइफ पोर्टल अपलोड हेइछि 26 लाख ऊर्ध्व अपलोड हो सारिलाणी से आमे माननीय यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी उपलक्षे समस्त आउ टिके एतिकी करताली देले हेबो नाही जोरदार करताली देके स्वागत करबा एवं मां मान को अनुरोध करबी हुलाहुली देकरी आमे संपूर्ण भाव रे परिवेश को आमे सुंदर करबा
धन्यवाद।
आज ये 30 जिला रे जो कार्यक्रम चली समस्त को सामिल करा जाइछि ता भितरे आज वृक्षारोपण कार्यक्रम रे जो जिला माने भाग नहीं जिलापाल मान नेतृत्व रे आज प्रथम स्थान अधिकार करिथिबा जिला मुझे कहबी आपण माने समस्ते टिके जोरदार करताली दे स्वागत करिवे प्रथम स्थान अधिकार करछि वर्तमान सुधा कंधमाल जिला द्वितीय स्थान अधिकार करिछि बौद्ध जिला तृतीय स्थान अधिकार करिछि रायगड़ा जिला चतुर्थ स्थान अधिकार करिछि केन्दुझर जिला एवं पंचम स्थान अधिकार करिछि कोरापुट जिला यही भली भाव में आज व्यापक भाव ये जो कार्यक्रम चालू ये निश्चित भाव में आमे 75 लक्ष को तो पार करिबा मु भाबुची जहाँ टार्गेट दिया जाइथिला आउ जहाँ आमे टार्गेट नहीं थिले ताकु मध्य निश्चित भाव रे पार करिबा बोली करे मु आशा करूछी। बंधुगण ये निश्चित भाव रे यही अभियान रो नाम होची एक पेड़ माँ के नाम। एक पेड़ माँ के नाम आमको स्मरण कराए जे जेपरी माँ आमको जीवन देई थांती गछ आमको प्राणवायु देई थाए प्रत्येक लोक माँ स्मृति रे प्रेम रे किंबा सम्मान रे गोटे गछ लगाइले से जीवन नैसर्गिक ये आनंद मिल पारि थाए। एणु मु निश्चित भाव रे मु आपण मान को समस्त को धन्यवाद दउछि। आपण माने महान कार्यक्रम रे ये गछ जो लगे एथिरे मध्य आमे सीमित रहिबा कथा नुह। गछ लगेला परे चुपचाप रही जावा कथा नुह। गछ लगेबा परे ताहार सुरक्षा ताहार पोषण और प्रतिपालन आम समस्तंकर दायित्व। ठीक माँ जेमिति तार शिशु को लालन पालन करने सहित तार सुरक्षा तार पोषण तार प्रतिपालन करि थाई आमको मध्य सेई गछटिए पई करबा पई पड़िबो। ये प्रकृति अति प्रेम परिवेश प्रति सचेतनता और आगामी पीढ़ी पाई एक सुंदर उत्तराधिकार। भाई भणी माने मु आपण मान को समस्त को धन्यवाद दउछि। आपण माने आज ये कार्यक्रम रे शामिल होइचंती। सबुज ओडिशा आउ सुंदर भारत यह ही आमर प्रतिज्ञा। आमर प्रतिज्ञा होउछि सबुज ओडिशा सुंदर भारत। मु पुनर्बार आम समस्तंकर प्रिय सम्माननीय माननीय मोदी जी को आपण समस्तंकर तथा राज्यवासी पक्षरु 75तम जन्मदिन शुभेच्छा और अभिनंदन जनाऊछि। प्रभु जगन्नाथ तांको सुस्थ और निरामय करंतु। ईश्वर आशीर्वाद माँ भारतीय सेवा पाई तांको ठारे नूतन शक्ति और उद्दीपना संचारित हो। धन्यवाद। वंदे उत्कल जननी।
राज्यर लोकप्रिय मुख्यमंत्री माननीय श्री मोहन चरण माझी महोदय निकट में आम कृतज्ञता अर्पण करूँ। एवं आज कार्यक्रम को केवल संबोधित करना बरं व्यापक वृक्षरोपण आम समस्त भितर एक उत्साह और उद्दीपना भरी देइछंती। आनुष्ठानिक भाव में धन्यवाद अर्पण आम निवेदन करूँ भुवनेश्वर एकाम्र मान्यवर विधायक श्रीयुक्त बाबू सिंह महोदय।
जय जगन्नाथ। एक पेड़ माँ की नाम गोटे गछ माँ पाई एक केवल एक संकल्प नुहे महान आंदोलन रे परिणत होइछि। ए आंदोलन को आउ टिके आगु को नबा पाई आज आम गहन रे ओडिशार लोकप्रिय मुख्यमंत्री साधारण लोकंकर मुख्यमंत्री साधारण लोकंक पाखरे पहुंचुतिबा मुख्यमंत्री श्रीयुक्त मोहन चरण माझी आम पाखरे पहुंची ए महाविद्यालय रे पहुंची मो महाविद्यालय रे पहुंची मते गर्व लगुच गौरव लगुच जोठी आमे अध्ययनरत थिलु जोठी मोर कॉलेज जीवन कटी थिला 5 वर्ष से कॉलेज रे आसिकी पहुंची केवल वृक्ष लगे नाहंती समाज को एक नुआ दिग्दर्शन देइचंती। गोटिए गछ गोटिए जीवन सदृश्य एवं आमर कहा माँ थाई पारे का माँ न थाई पारे माँ जीवन तो सब बेले न रही पारे आज मोर माँ नहीं किंतु जो गछ को आमे लगेबा से गछ आमर माँ सदृश्य आमे जेते दिन पर्यंत बंची थिबा से गछ को सेते दिन पर्यंत जीवित रखिबा मार स्नेह आम पाखे सेते दिन पर्यंत रहिबो। ए होची आमर संकल्प। ए संकल्पर अन्यतम मुख्य बिंदाणी ए विभाग मंत्री भाई गणेश राम खुंटिया महोदय आम सांगरे थिले राज्यर स्वास्थ्य मंत्री मुकेश भाई मुकेश महालिक तांकर अन्य एक कार्यक्रम पे एबे ठारू छाड़िचंती एवं आमर राज्यर प्रभारी तोमारजी महोदय मंचरे समस्त विशेष भाव रे फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट रो प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी महोदय फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट रो समस्त ऑफिसर वृंद विशेष भाव रे ए महाविद्यालय एकाम्र महाविद्यालय प्रिंसिपल महोदय समस्त शिक्षक शिक्षयित्री बा समस्त ए महाविद्यालय स्टाफ माने एवं विशेष भाव रे ए कार्यक्रम को सफल करबा पई आसीथिबा मोर समस्त भाई भौणी माने कॉर्पोरेटर भाई भौणी माने एकाम्र महाविद्यालय पूर्वतन सभापति माने महिला मोर्चार नेतृत्व मंडली एवं विशेष भाव रे जहां आखिरे आम स्वप्न देखुचु ए स्वप्न सफल हब ए स्वप्न एक श्रेष्ठ स्वप्न रे परिणत हब वास्तवता रूप नब 2036 मसीहा राज्यर मुख्यमंत्री स्वप्न देखुचंती ए राज्य को आउ पादे आगु को नबा पाई ए राज्य को विश्वर अन्यतम श्रेष्ठ राज्य देश रे थिबा समस्त अग्रणी राज्य संगे समान करबा पाई से लक्ष्य रे जो छात्र छात्री मानक आखिरे आमे स्वप्न देखुचु से भली मो सम्मुख रे थिबा एकाम्र महाविद्यालय समस्त छात्र छात्री वृंद समस्त को अशेष अशेष धन्यवाद देवी मुख्यमंत्री को आउ एक कार्यक्रम अच्छी नचेत आज आपण संगे आउ किसी समय बिताई था आउ किसी समय अभिभाषण रखी था जेहेतु आज देशर केवल प्रधानमंत्री नुहंती विश्वर अन्यतम सर्वश्रेष्ठ नेतृत्व श्रीजुक्त नरेंद्र भाई मोदी 75तम जन्म जयंती से जन्म जयंती रे प्रभु जगन्नाथ तांको आशीर्वाद करंतु तांको सतायु करंतु से यही परी आज मध्य 75 वर्ष बयस रे 16 रु 17 घंटा परिश्रम करी भारत को एक श्रेष्ठ राष्ट्र रे परिणत करबा पई जो संकल्प नैचंती आमे प्रभु जगन्नाथ को पाखरे प्रार्थना करिबा एभली एक श्रेष्ठ नेतृत्व 100 वर्ष रु ऊर्ध्व बचंतु ए माटी पई ए देश पई कार्य करिथांतु आज भली एक पवित्र दिन रे आपण माने समस्ते जोग दे ए माँ कर ए माँ पई जो गछटे ए संकल्प को एक महा आंदोलन रे परिणत करथिबारु समस्त को अशेष अशेष धन्यवाद बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मुख्यमंत्री समस्त अतिथि मानन को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद वंदे उत्कल जननी जय जगन्नाथ
आपण माने दंडायमान होई मान्यवर मुख्यमंत्री महोदय को कृतज्ञतार सहित मेलाणी दियंतु ए निवेदन सहित समस्त अतिथि को साधुवाद एवं कृतज्ञता दे एकाम्र महाविद्यालय अध्यक्षा अध्यापक अध्यापिका कर्मचारी समस्त को साधुवाद दे एवं छात्र छात्री समस्त को शुभेच्छा एवं आशीर्वाद दे आमे ए कार्यक्रम आपण मान मेलाणी नेउछु एक पेड़ माँ के नाम द्वितीय संस्करण को सफल करिथिबारु समस्त सफलतार श्रेय आपण मानकर वंदे उत्कल जननी।
Lifelong, you can't go on delivering pizzas. You have to have a very meaningful job. None from the state government is bothered about it. And this we must say, including the chief minister, look at the pathetic condition of universities in the state. And in this case, we can't entirely blame center. How much hollow is the structure? BJP government when one of the education minister, not this time. I think it was in the first term of Devendra Fadnavis. He talked of 0% failure, and the policy was to send each and every kid to next standard, and at 10th and 12th they get exposed, and there was this huge failure rate. This kind of situation can't be we can't get there overnight. It's a consistent decline. You have an education minister. Looking at him, you always feel that the earlier gone was better one. You are creating a generation of unemployable, worthless students.
In this West Side story today, we are looking at something a little different kind of a subject, Girish. There's too much of politics, there's too much of reservation issue, there's too much of conflict, coalition conflict we've discussed at length. and that's here to stay, and that will continue for some more time. But today, what we are looking at is the state of education in Maharashtra. Now, Maharashtra as a state, which was founded on May 1, 1960, was always in the leading when it came to field of agriculture and education. Especially in the education, they were pioneers. There were a lot of social thinkers, reformers, and there was a lot of thrust given on the education and literacy level in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and one expected it will improve from where it was. Girish, my question to you is, if you look at the 1964 itself, Kothari Commission
Yeah.
was formed, and they had at that time recommended 6% GDP in education
Yeah.
of the total budget,
Correct,
and it
correct.
should have been both at the center, it was applicable of state level. Now, over the last 60, 70 years, I think even a state like Maharashtra has not been able to conform to that kind of
Correct.
recommendation.
Yeah.
So, what are the reasons?
See, I mean, even before Kothari Commission, let me tell the first education minister, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, he on record in the parliament had told the government that we should have right from the day one at least 10% of the GDP allocated to the education. Currently, it's not even 2.5%. And I remember 2014 election campaign when Arun Jaitley in one of the informal chats and about the party manifesto had talked about how the government will double education allocation right from the day one, right from the very first year, and even after 10 years it remains where it is, so if the center is so I mean so less involved in education at state level, it's even worse. We shouldn't be bothered about pothole filled roads, poor infrastructure, I mean, breaking down kind of even day-to-day life because of social agitations in Maharashtra. One factor we should be worried about is the education. Maharashtra is big time loser, big time loser, because the recent ranking is out. None of the universities in any of those rankings there, and this is something it is beyond now alarming, but I don't see there is enough urgency at government level. And Maharashtra losing, I mean, we used to have a city called Oxford of the East, Pune for that matter.
And Mumbai University was equivalent.
Yes. One of the first universities founded in 1858, I mean, when along with Chennai and other universities. But where are we? And look at the first batch of right from Justice Telang to Mahadev Govind Ranade, and I mean, such a glorious history about education. But Maharashtra's education level, rather lack of it, is extremely concerning now.
I remember Sharad Pawar once, I think maybe 10, 12 years ago, I'm not saying which government it was, but I think he had just was touring Marathwada, and I think he himself made a statement where he said that he was very shocked to see that a student in third or fourth standard not being able to read, or constitute a proper statement at that time. And I think he was pretty alarmed at that time. And he had also kind of flagged it with the then state government. I think it was Congress NCP itself. But the point is here, 24-25, if you look at the budget, it was 98,438 crore, 14.7%. I'm talking about the entire social sector, including education. Even that if we compare, 25-26, it has dropped. It's much less. It's 13.9% only. Now here, the allocation is increased, but if you look at if you compare the percentage of the overall budget, it has declined. So some way it is not the center, maybe center's apathy towards education. That's another subject. But what about the state government itself? And here you have a chief minister who understands the significance of education. He himself is a law graduate and has always given importance to education sector, and and he has a lot. He dreams big about collaboration with best foreign universities should come here. But the point is, what about your own state universities?
It's a huge gap. What we think about he thinking about education and what he is doing, and the chief minister or the state government is doing for education in Maharashtra. There are at least 5 universities in Maharashtra. We can name like Mumbai, Pune,
Savitribai Phule,
yeah,
yeah.
Kolhapur, and such. The big ones. Where 60% vacancies of professors are not being filled. So there is a new tendency which was flagged by the Supreme Court in its recent order. It's about appointing them on hourly basis. I mean, this is like employment guarantee scheme. I mean, they are not daily wages, but we are treating professors. I mean, it's supposed to be a hallowed kind of a job. Appointing them 300, 400 rupees per hour basis. So what could be the state of education there? And none from the state government is bothered about it. And this we must say, including the chief minister, Devendra Fadnavis. You can have foreign universities, it's fine. I mean, this is necessary. But look at the pathetic condition of universities in the state. And in this case, we can't entirely blame center. A center is having its own problems and policies and thinking. But if center is to be blamed, why Tamil Nadu is not doing that bad in education, for that matter, Andhra, Telangana, Kerala. So this is something is rotten in Maharashtra, and the biggest thing that is rotten in Maharashtra last 25 years we have been seeing is complete ignorance or lack of seriousness in handling education.
So if you go globally anywhere, I mean, Maharashtra always talks about global, global reckoning and global. I mean, that's what they always aspire for. No, in any world, if you travel or if you look at their thing, the public universities are always very, they have a certain status and certain standards. And even in Maharashtra, if you just take all the 13 state universities, they had their own kind of significance. As far as the social engineering is concerned, they somehow cater to that. At the same time, they also maintain a very high standard. Now, in this ranking you just mentioned now, NIFR ranking also says that, Savitribai Phule University, Pune, which you mentioned. Now, even that it is always at this above, at least some kind of a hope it had. Even that ranking has declined now, though Mumbai University marginally has improved in that sense. But again, the issue is like if you're 60-70% of the staff is not there, then how are you going to run the university? You don't want to spend on the staff, you don't want to ensure its management. So, Girish, where does this confidence come that you can run a university but without professors, without lectures, only you want to just make a structure and make a building?
It shows how the how much hollow is the structure. You have, I mean, I had done in my early days a series of stories. I had run a series of stories on the state of engineering colleges in Maharashtra. Engineering and medical. There are a couple of cases also filed against me then. I mean, you won't believe, one college in Raigad district, it's a medical college. The college classroom was cow shed. You won't believe. And it's an open air. I mean, on the one side, first year student, back to back them, on the other side, second year student. Some colleges were having labs common. I mean, for medical fraternity, medical colleges, you need to have a proper lab and hospitals. So actually, in a bid to popularize or widen the education base, what we have done is we have lowered standard at every level. And the same BJP government, when one of the education minister, not this time, I think it was in the first term of Devendra Fadnavis, he talked of 0% failure. And he, I mean, the policy was to send each and every kid to next standard, and at 10th and 12th they get exposed, and there was this huge failure rate. I mean, education is all about merit, but you are giving least importance to anything which is close to being meritorious. So what will happen? Maharashtra is losing, and last year we ran a story. I'm sure you also reported on it. Over lakhs 1 lakh engineering students, I mean engineering colleges, seats in engineering colleges were vacant. There are no takers. And those who are passing out, not even worth, what can say, ITI knowledgeable or ITI level students also, So that is the condition, and this kind of situation can't be, we can't get there overnight. It's a consistent decline. And I can see it, I mean, related right from 2000 onwards, the first Sena BJP government in 1995, and all. And now the situation we are in now is, you have an education minister, looking at him, you always feel that the earlier gone was better one, that kind of a situation we are in. So that's a very serious thing, actually.
No, that's what I was wondering when you're talking in the last 10 years, when was even one single instance where the state ministers have come together and discussed education? I mean, irrespective of whichever government it is. I'm not saying just Congress, NCP or Shiv Sena, BJP, but I think at least in Congress, NCP, they were blamed for opening up the private institutions and therefore the neglect to the state universities and state run or affiliated colleges.
Correct.
But now here, for the last 10 years, I don't see any attempt by the government to kind of at least fix the wrongs, or at least take up a challenge of 2 universities, 3 universities, and let's see that the standards are elevated.
Correct.
Now here the point is, like, if this is how you're treating education, then what is your purpose? I mean,
I mean, purpose is to have, I mean, it sounds a little cynical, but I mean, you are creating a generation of unemployable, worthless students, So they are here, not there, and we take pride in the word these days. It's in vogue. It's called gig economy. I mean, lifelong, you can't go on delivering pizzas. You have to have a very meaningful job, meaningful industry, meaningful development. But we are least bothered about it. Look at the simple statistics: number of students going abroad for education. In my colleges, I remember people used to go there for postgrads. Now it is for graduation level. I'm sure if the things don't improve, next generation will send even for primary education. So instead of going up, we are going down. And Maharashtra can't afford to do that. Already we are behind the curve. We have missed so many bases. We have missed IT boom. We have missed engineering boom. We are on the verge of missing this AI boom also. So how many losses? How many things we are going to go? But that's what the state is now.
And also I think this whole thing comes from the, I mean, you rightly said Congress, NCP, but at least they were kind of a little aware of the things. And I mean, they are partly to be blamed for neglecting the state and, giving priorities to the private, because somewhere the nexus between the politicians and the private universities, and hence that economic angle was there. And we can, of course, raise questions about their standard. But my point is the state-funded universities which we have in Maharashtra, 13 universities, at least those 13 universities, why is the BJP government or BJP-led coalition government not treating that as very sacrosanct? And you have the infrastructure. I mean, they don't have to invest anything on the infrastructure. And it's not that you don't have best of the brains in Maharashtra. You have one of the finest kind of legacy we had. So you have very bright minds here who can help you come forward and help you in fixing the wrongs. But then if they're not doing, Girish, it's not just about finances. There's somewhere also the way they look at the social issues. Because you want to create a generation who will only do Mandir Masjid, or who you want to engage them only love jihad versus, you just want to create an army. You just want to create an army of people who are not rational, who are not willing to kind of, take up the scientific challenges. I mean,
what you said is correct, and especially it's all the way painful because your own government at center has come out with a national education policy, I mean, some grand design, which states, which has set a ratio for say, for example, science. I mean, for every students, 15 students for practical, they have to have one professor or a teacher, But we are not appointing them. I mean, see, your own policy you are ignoring, and what you said is right. We are out to create a society full of mediocres. There is a neglect at university level. Why? It's not that there is no talented people available, because you don't want anybody who can question your on rational basis, on logical basis. You want only yes men, and that's what we are heading for now. Like why people are crowding Ashoka, or one in which is coming up in Pune. Mr. Forbes, Naushad Forbes is behind it. Something in Chennai coming up, because those who actually respect education, they will look for good standard, which will encourage people, students, to think about it. But if you are not allowing even good, decent personalities called at the level of, say, vice chancellors, what do you expect?
That there are two things. One is absolutely there's so many vacant positions, and when you ask, or when we talk about the funding, finances, the chief minister's obvious answer and his cabinet minister's answers, deputy CMs are, we have nothing to worry about funds. And Maharashtra is a huge state, and it can easily raise the funds. Now the question is then why the spending is not.
Yeah.
It's not proportionate to what it should be. And secondly, there's no explanation how you can run a university without professors.
Yeah, but Maharashtra, Maharashtra should be looking at Rajasthan, where I remember having read somewhere as many as 4 or 5 universities in Rajasthan are being run without a single permanent appointment. I mean, all of them are on what they call hourly basis. So this shows complete disregard. I mean, contempt to the education world, which can stand up to you, and this is the serious damage Maharashtra has suffered in the last 2 decades, and no one is willing to put it where it is. I mean, if fund is not an issue, you have 46,000 crores of rupees worth for Ladki Behna, and education you don't have even 18,000-20,000 crores. So it shows where our priority are.
And also the ministers you appoint, that is again a question, and we've been saying this for long. You have a coalition government. Now this coalition system is going to stay. That's your political compulsion. But for that, why are you kind of punishing the new generation? Why are you punishing the generations to come for that? That's far more serious issue than just, which can be just overlooked like that.
Yeah, and the way it is done, Tamil Nadu has set an example. There is the fantastic paper I remember that talk about Dravidian development model. There will be political differences, there will be challenges, there will be issues between these parties and that party, but there has to be some basic thing which shouldn't be impacted by the politicization of the society. This is not happening in Maharashtra. So every education minister is a disaster for education sector. I mean, what we are looking at is like, this is better, the next one will be even worse. I mean, so that kind of a and when you don't give importance to education, so education portfolio is the last one for any of those on the offing. I mean, less lucrative. So this is not going to work. I'm sure Maharashtra, the next generation, is going to suffer because there are no good education institutes. Whatever happened in 60s, thanks to Nehru and all those, but nothing has happened after that.
You mentioned Jawaharlal Nehru. I think thanks to him for all the premier institutions
IITs,
global. But even they are taking pride in opening up, expansion and all that. But again, here the infrastructure. I mean, it's not just buildings and not this, but even if in state, we will stick to state only now. The state universities also, what is the research funding? They've stopped completely. It's so meager. I mean, what kind of minds are you going to create for the children? They're just buildings there without any staff who are part-time, as you mentioned, and no research fundings.
The biggest investment should be for the infrastructure. It is human infrastructure. You are not building students, professors. I mean, as a cub reporter, I used to do, and even today I get it done through the young reporters. After every 10th or 12th exam, interview those who are what do you call, rank holders and top 50 and 60. None of them talks about being, he wants to be a teacher. What it shows? It shows complete disrespect for the sector, which is the backbone of development. And Maharashtra was that, I mean, you have a legacy of great teachers, vice chancellors. Now, vice chancellor, if you ask any of the reporter who is the vice chancellor for Mumbai University, no one knows, because they are political appointees, and that's the saddest part. You have brought politics to at each and every level, and now it's next to ruins.
Also, the appointments, I mean, that is questionable. You just want to put your key person there, and people are not so foolish. I mean, and especially the young brains, you cannot fool with them. They are hungry for knowledge, and you should deliver that. I'll give you an example of KM, which is just in the heart of the city. Now, here you have one of the brightest students who come, passing through that highly competitive exams, and there are no, if you look at the infrastructure of the hostels, I mean, these are the students who study 12 hours every day. They cope up with your, the emergencies and the OPDs and all. And here, they are not sure where they're going to stay, how they're going to stay. I mean, this total disregard. And here you have a government or governments whose entire focus was on building roads, building bridges, and which fall. So, I mean,
unfortunately, educating students is not remunerative for politicians. I mean, unless they find incentive in building next generation, I don't think anything, any positive we can expect in this situation. See, as it is, there are foreign schools, coming down in India, the international boards or whatever, people flock to that. So what is happening to, I mean, just 3 kilometers from Mantralaya, the state headquarters, the government-run school is being closed down. So what it says, infrastructure is much more than roads and buildings and cuts and what you say percentages. That somehow Maharashtra is still yet to figure out, yet to realize to this challenge. And earlier the better. Otherwise, I don't think. I mean, the next generation and their children, I don't think they will prefer any of the schools in Maharashtra. I look at the number of students going abroad. And this is the sorry state. I mean, we may be talking about Vishwaguru and making India great again and blah, 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 blah. But unless you put in where it is needed, the resources, everything remains just a dream.
Vishwaguru is very fine, and that's not the slogan only given by him. I think it was also the vision probably of the founding fathers of our constitution, all those who sacrificed their lives through their hard work. And the first prime minister was also with a very scientific, rational mind. He did some pioneering work. I mean, politics apart, you cannot ignore his immense contribution. I mean, whatever is there today is there because of him, thanks to that. Now, Girish, do you hope that there will be some kind of a saner voice within this government and the cabinet? Do we get to see a cabinet which will actually spend hours, a day or 2 days on where Maharashtra is going? This was a slogan, by the way, where Fadnavis in 2013-14 had used it for a campaign. Kutte neum thevla Maharashtra maza. Where have you taken the Maharashtra to? Now, do you think this is the right time to ask him the same question when it comes to education sector?
Yeah, we should be raising, and that's what we have been doing. But I don't see anything coming from the cabinet or those in the ministry. There has to be some kind of a movement. I mean, people have enough time and space for pigeons, whether they should be fed or not. About the elephant, where it should be in Kolhapur or some other private person's zoo. We don't have that kind of a society where education is talked about, and we are in silos, like even in as far as the living standard is concerned, there are ghettos, there are gated communities, and those who are not part of it. So similarly, that has happened about the education also. So there will be kind of a difference between the standard, but the basic investment there has to be there for the education, which is not coming. And I don't see this particularly this generation of political class is bothered about improving education standards. Unfortunately,
Because one
that's what,
thing which is noticeable is because it's very easy for the politicians to, when you have two communities pitted against each other,
Yeah.
or when this issue of reservation, because often the very stereotypes we hear is, oh, it's because of reservation, the standards. The issue is not that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the cutoff marks of even the reserve category,
Yeah.
and all, they have kind of gone up, and that's a different subject. But my point is, the state itself, whatever is its responsibility, that itself is not being
Yeah.
fulfilled. I mean, how do you explain the the number of seats? It's not just 5-10%. It's 60% of your
60%.
employees in the universities, and these are your premier institutions, and even that you cannot fill up the post. I mean, then
Yeah,
why
I mean-
don't we have a part-time CM and part-time cabinet minister? I
This
mean,
is
if
the
the
thing.
universities can run
Yeah.
efficiently with part-time
Yeah.
and hourly basis,
Yeah.
then let's have that kind of a political system.
My only
Nobody
fear
is going to miss
Yeah.
anything.
My only fear is that I mean the next generation of politicians or the rulers, they shouldn't consider education or the professor as part of the gig economy.
Yeah. Yeah.
To go deliver, get your money.
Money.
I mean, this is not the way. Education is a long term investment from the teaching as well as from the students' point of view. But it's all about investing. It's about emotion. It's about intellect. But when you have no time, no space, and nothing that can set your agenda on education, I don't see. And this is not. I mean, you can't blame only politicians. When you have a population which is happy with Ganesh Utsav and grand festivities, I mean, what are we talking about? You have dozens of young kids dying in the immersion procession. You have dozens of
Dahi
kids
handi.
dying in Dahi Handi. And it's see, the serious issue I find is a lumpenization of every field now. That is the real thing, and encouragement for such kind of not so serious activities given by the politicians is detrimental. And unless and until people feel the need to have good infrastructure for schools, research institutes, not even 1% of the GDP we have for R&D. It's 0.7%.
Yes.
I mean, look at the size of India. I mean, US has 10-11% of the GDP for education. We not even 2.5%. So I think, unfortunately, we need to say what we get, what we deserve. And education, it's actually we deserve better, but that's not the case. Has been happening.
And there are people, I mean, that it's not that they don't have the brightest minds here. I mean, they are people who are highly qualified,
Yeah.
who are knowledgeable. Here we are talking about knowledge. It's not just about degrees and that kind of thing. And I think when the call for Viksit Maharashtra, Viksit Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat is concerned, you cannot have a system which is where knowledge is given the last kind of priority.
Yeah. And what you said is correct. Actually, what we need, you said that there are enough mind, but what we need, as Rabindranath Tagore, freeing of those minds. Unless you keep them clutched together or under some chain to certain thoughts and not allowing them question. Unfortunately, education is the first and serious victim of that.
So hope someday we will hear. Someday we'll hear that Maharashtra is actually taking education seriously, and especially with Devendra Fadnavis as the head of the state. At least I think he should.
Yeah.
It's not just to get the best of the universities here, but also to ensure the existing ones, which we already have, are also upgraded, are also kind of whatever the problems, whatever the issues are addressed basically.
Yes.
Beginning with filling up all the vacant posts.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Girish.
Thank you.
चंदू के चाचा की चटनी और बहुत कुछ 10 मिनट्स में और बिग बास्केट।
in a state like Maharashtra, whether it is affordable even at the national level when many states are facing drought and excessive rain. I mean these environmental issues. Can we afford to have it? It's not only about sugarcane. It's not only about maize. It's not only about, see, there are 5 or 6 agricultural products that can help get more ethanol, extract more ethanol, like sweet potato or potatoes. I mean, there are like rice also, you said. But the larger issue, and that's what the world is debating. What is first? What matters most, fuel or food? Our problem is not the policy. Policy is good, welcome, but the application of policy is the serious issue. It's again the same thought process. One jacket fits all. It's not. So from consumer standpoint, you are able to pay farmer, that's fine. But what consumer is gaining? How much one can think of ethanol? Because unlike Brazil, which is thanks to Amazon, it's a huge irrigation potential. It has motor vehicles which are running on 100% ethanol. Can we afford